Hi everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of February the 14th, 2022. We have a really active and powerful sky at play all throughout the week and of course all throughout the month until the middle of April. And this is also where the energy slowly but surely starts to shift in so very many different ways. So we are heading into a very dynamic, very quick moving period when we will have to make very quick, sudden, spontaneous decisions, but at the same time, we will also have a lot of moments when whatever we invest our energy into, whatever it is that we put our strength into, it flourishes, it becomes prosperous, it almost manifests before our very eyes, and this is the cherry on top. This is what makes this period so very rewarding. Now, of course, we mustn't forget that even though the sky is changing in a sense that the very challenging, the obstacle-filled celestial conversations, especially the Saturn and Uranus one, which was the signature conversation of the year 2021, is slowly losing its intensity. It is still there, of course, but almost just like a ramification of whatever happened in our lives in the year 2021. And of course, because this is a Uranian energy, that means we are very much aware of whatever it is that life wanted to teach us, how to overcome our greatest obstacles, our biggest challenges, how to step into our own personal the revolutionary perhaps, chapter of our lives. So basically, we already have the plan, we already have the idea. All we need to do is now to execute it. And perhaps that is why both Saturn and Uranus are releasing their grip and giving us a little bit of space, time, a breather to regenerate and to find opportunities out there to execute the master plan, so to speak. Also, this Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde period that just ended was very important to refine, readjust the big plan, the master plan, so to speak. That plan which is already taking us into our futures, just that perhaps we cannot anticipate yet exactly how, because that is basically the nature, the very signature, the imprint of the year 2022. Everything is going to be a big surprise. And speaking about the signature of the year 2022, this is one of those weeks when another very important signature is going to, symbolically speaking, come online, and we will see it, feel it, and of course be part of that entering into play. And I'm speaking about the Mars and Venus conjunction, because that is how that very signature energy looks from an astrological perspective. That is how it looks on the sky. And this week is going to be very important in this sense, but not just this week, but the next period until the very end of March. Venus and Mars will literally, and I repeat from an astrological perspective, chase each other in the sky like cosmic lovers, playing games with one another, having fun, expressing their passion, their sympathy, their undying attraction for one another. And you know what they say, what happens in the sky is mirrored down here on Earth. So this week is that week when their dance perfects itself, when they meet by the degree and by the minute in the sky. So this is a very powerful energy that will stay with us, as I said, until the very end of March. Venus and Mars, the cosmic lovers, the female and the male principle, the passive and the active, the chaser and the prey, are going to hold this conjunction with one another in Capricorn until they exit this part of the sky. And this dance, this chase, this symbolic cosmic act of love declaration is going to continue all through in the sign of Aquarius, but then Venus will whiz out of there, leaving Mars alone for some time, after which Mars will also enter the sign of Pisces, but Venus by this point will be way too far for another conjunction. And this to me says, whatever is created, whatever comes into existence in this period when Mars and Venus are in the sign of Capricorn, and I repeat, this week is going to be very, very important for that, well, it will head into our futures as a commitment, as an established alliance, as something that we already created, something that we initiated, something that we accepted to be part of our lives, or a decision that we took, something that we made a permanent part of our lives, the symbolism of Capricorn, so that will stay with us long term in our futures, the symbolism of Aquarius, of course. Now, this is actually a really fortunate energy from a romantic perspective, especially that on Valentine's Day, on the 14th of February, Mars and Venus will be very, very tight conjunct together in the sky. So that actually is so very fortunate, such a really good omen to have exactly on Valentine's Day. Even if, let's say, Valentine's Day might not really represent something very important from an astrological or perhaps even from a spiritual perspective, yet still it exists in our collective consciousness. It is a celebration of love, partnership, and a union, of course, and this is exactly what happens in the sky. So I do believe that for a lot of couples, this will be a truly beautiful celebration, while of course for other people, especially those who are single and looking, exactly Valentine's Day, so the 14th can be a perfect day, a perfect moment, a perfect opportunity to meet someone very special. But of course, even if it doesn't happen, as I said, until the very end of March and even a little bit into April, this cosmic chase, this cosmic dance still lasts. So there is plenty of time, and there will be a lot of opportunities out there, especially that this is, as I said, exactly the specific of this dance. It is in Capricorn. It first happens in this part of the sky, which already says that this is meant to be stable, committed, fair, part of your life in a very organic way. So not just the game, not just the mask, not just because society needs you to be that way, so to speak. It's not just a conditioning. Whatever takes place under this energy is going to be very important and there to last in your life, regardless if it's a job, regardless if it's a big career choice, let's say modus vivendi choice, a relationship, romance, love, a hobby, anything that has to do with your material life, an investment, moving, changing where you live, changing your social position, your relationship with society. It really, really depends on where Capricorn falls in your personal chart, because that area of life will be strongly activated by both Mars and Venus, and that is where attractions, connections, meeting, or a powerful transformation based on a choice or decision will take place even now, right now, as we speak, next week, and as I said, until the very end of March. And whatever happens, well, chances are you will take that into your future with you. And speaking about the future, when Mars will step into 0 degrees of Aquarius, it will activate that part of the sky where in December 2020 the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter took place. So that always represents a moment of quantum leap when we collectively when we together as a species will further advance into the great unknown. So it will definitely be revealed to us how this new era, this new age, post-COVID age, that we are rebuilding, reconstructing, upgrading, so to speak, is going to look like, where things are headed. So that is also a really important moment, both for us individually and collectively, when we will do have a small outlook, so to speak, to anticipate about where things are headed. But of course, that will be much later on and not in next week's astrological theme. Also, another aspect which is really powerful, especially on Valentine's Day, well, this conjunction of Venus and Mars hold a trine with Uranus, which can represent surprise, which can represent exactly what I said earlier, the power of attraction. What you seek also seeks you. And whenever Mars and Venus meet this way in an earth sign, well, that does influence physical, down-to-earth matters as well. So if there was ever a time, a perfect period, when exactly what happens in the sky or inside our souls, because that is also our personal sky, when something happens there, physical reality has a chance to mirror that. So Venus can be seen as our values and desires, everything that we would like to receive, to embody, to have, and, appreciate in our lives. Well, that expression, that symbolic, psychological energy, if I can call it that way, it is very, very strong right now. So all we need to do is be very, very sure of what we desire to have, to accomplish. Of course, we need to embody Mars as well. Be able to invest energy and focus and strength and perhaps time into it. Commit to it. That is basically the conjunction of these two planets in Capricorn. The commitment, the given word, the given agreement that we make it part of our lives. But of course we do, because we dream of it, Venus. We value it. We would like to have it. So under this energy, a lot of wishes like this are gonna be fulfilled. Also because Jupiter is in Pisces, and that adds a lot of strength to wish fulfillment. Because, for example, in tarot, Jupiter in Pisces is the Nine of Cups, which is exactly that, success or wish fulfillment. If you are looking for a job and this is genuinely your desire, your focus right now, well, this is a really good period when it can just pop up. You can just have invitations or, embodying the energy of Aquarius. Friends offer you certain suggestions, advice, and you follow, and it actually leads you somewhere. Help and, as I said, wish fulfillment, these powerful fated attractions can happen in so very many different ways right now. And this is the specific of Uranus. It adds that surprise element, the unexpected to it. So I do say that this is quite a lucky and fortunate energy. And since Jupiter speaks in sextile, both to these planets, Mars and Venus, well, that adds a lot of good fortune, extra good fortune, if that makes sense to it. Jupiter expands Venus and Mars, our passion and our need to have it in our lives. And that makes us as symbolically alchemical reactors, or to use a different term, generators of our own reality. Well, that part of us is extremely active right now. So, of course, it works like a charm. The same goes for relationship, but this is where the commitment is a must. So this is not just a platonic, an idealistic Piscean relationship. This is like a true commitment. This is like a down-to-earth relationship. So if you desire that, if you're open to that, a person can surprisingly, unexpectedly just pop up in your life, and Uranus makes sure of this. Or at least guidance or a hint or a push in the right direction is definitely going to come your way. And also on Valentine's Day, Mercury is in an erratic position, which means 29 degrees of Capricorn, and that means its symbolism is greatly amplified. So a lot of important talks, discussions, interviews, commitments, which kind of highlight the severity of the mercurial sphere, the communication, the mental capacity, the rationalization skill, if that even makes sense, the tactical functions of the mind. So agreements or important discussions, communication, perhaps decisions, judgments even are going to be made under that energy. And when that energy is very active, it is the 14th. So exactly Valentine's Day again. Maybe a lot of people are going to receive a lot of unexpected love declarations or gestures or surprises, because that is also very in tune with an energetic Mercury. Maybe a present, maybe instead of an I love you or a simple card, you receive something much greater value. But of course, for other people, it could be exactly fate knocking at their doors, where instead of a Valentine's Day invitation or gift, they might receive a present from fate, because after all, Pluto is trine the North Node in Taurus, and that is a great material power, especially that which is fated. But of course, Pluto, sometimes fate comes with terms and conditions, so you might need to make a compromise or sort something out before it can be yours, whatever fate wants to offer you. So this is a very, very busy and heavily fated period for a lot of us. May it be where we need to sort out our inner value systems, the psychological cleanup, so to speak. May it be when we need to manage our finances, pay off debt, sort out something related to our careers, our living situation, everything that has to do with our material lives. May it be our relationship, romance, that area of life which has a lot to do with us personally or intimately being connected to another person. So this is definitely very, very busy. And it's not just fate. As I said, fate is only half. Fate only provides 50% of the momentum. Our inner forces, our instincts, that Mars, the empowered, exalted Mars in Capricorn, while our instincts are also going to motivate us and empower us and even force us, sometimes determine us to take action. So we are in tune with wherever fate also wants to take us. So this is really, really important. And also another highlight of next week is on the 15th, Mercury is leaving Capricorn and entering the sign of Aquarius, a part of the sky where it's really comfortable. But this movement of Mercury is part of the larger Mercury retrograde season, because chances are that a lot of communication, information, discussions, anything to do with the sphere of Mercury, so to speak, that we are still working on, things that have started popping up in our lives and we couldn't resolve yet, starting from around December last year. So those will find resolution, and this will come as news, communication, information, maybe even small travels or journeys that we have to make. So the puzzle, the bigger picture of what this Mercury retrograde season meant for us personally is definitely forming. It is becoming clearer, and our sense of direction is strengthening. We are starting to feel less lost, less uncertain, and more at least brave enough not to fear the unexpected, the uncertain future. While for some of us this goes beyond bravery, this goes beyond just the right attitude. Some of us are already doing practical, physical, down-to-earth activities in order to provide a lot of stability for ourselves and everyone else that we can. Another expression of Saturn in the sign of Aquarius, a strong highlight of the Aquarian energy. And this is also part of this week, because on the 16th, we have a full moon in the sign of Leo, a full moon which speaks in a minor astrological conversation, a quincunx, with Pluto. So whatever this energy may stir up in our lives, because chances are it's going to be a big stir up, because whenever the moon speaks with Pluto in this manner, that represents a shocking either information, event, something that truly, enlivens us emotionally. And Leo is all about the heart. So it will be like an arrow coming straight to our hearts. But of course, this can be in any way, shape, or form. Leo is also romance. Leo can be falling madly in love. Leo can represent where that arrow coming to the heart is a new passion, a new hobby, something that truly stirs up our interest. But it can also be an unsettling event, something fearful, something which shocks us to the core of our hearts. It might not necessarily play out in our own individual lives. It can happen, for example, on the world stage. It can happen, politically, economically, financially, collectively speaking. But the emotion, the feeling, and the imminent truth that Pluto, the truth, that it will impact our lives sooner or later, there will be a moment when it's our turn to basically live through whatever that shocking news decision, court ruling, legislative change, or whatever that can be. There will come a moment when we will live that as well on our own skin, so to speak. So from a collective perspective, that adds this rebellious awakening energy to it. Leo, the solidarity, the emotional unity of the people, the moon. And this also squares the nodes of the moon, so it can be something, for example, economic of nature. A market crashes, it collapses, for example, and it will reverberate all throughout the world. Or, for example, it might have something to do with the Pluto return of the United States. Something economic of nature, for example, happens there, and it comes as a shock wave. It will impact every country in the world. This is just a speculation, just a possibility. This full moon also is conjunct Regulus, the star of kings. Something happens to a famous leader, a president, a king, a royalty, a celebrity. There might something be on the world stage, news about this, shocking news. That can also be Pluto's expression of the quincunx with the moon. And because the square to the nodal axis, well, this means an unexpected event that will require us to at least change our perspective emotionally from a heart space about where we're heading in the future, at least materially speaking, and psychological well-being perhaps is the better word, our future well-being. How are we going to accomplish that? What are we going to sacrifice for it? What is worth it and what is not? But this isn't like going back to the drawing board, a big setback. This is just a change of attitude, a change of feeling, a change of how we manage our own inner resources, creativity and passion, time and everything, Leo in nature. And naturally, the reason why I am almost convinced that for a lot of people this full moon will represent falling in love, because at the same time the Mars and Venus conjunction is perfected. So it's very, very strong, almost at its peak. And when as I said, whatever happens in the sky is mirrored down on Earth. Venus, Mars, the cosmic lovers. There is an endless love story between these deities, and of course their dance makes sense from any psychological, alchemical, even quantum physical, the two charges, from nature's perspective, the whole game of conquering one's lover and the trial and the attraction and the chase and the union and the magic of all of that, and add a Leo full moon to that, well, feelings are gonna be very, very high. And as I said, the quincunx to Pluto can be a big surprise, an unexpected shock. And that shock, why not? It can also be a romantic declaration, a romantic expression, someone opening up their feelings, or a present, or something that will definitely change your perspective or feelings regarding a certain person. Now, both Mars and Leo and the moon in the sign of Leo can represent courage, a moment of inspired action, or it can represent a risk that we feel so very motivated from the heart space to take, or any kind of leap of faith that leads to a big accomplishment, of course. The Venus and Mars conjunction, or an inspired action, and everything I said earlier, which saves a situation, which completes something, or which one way or another contributes to the birth of something, may it be a situation, an object, a project, a new chapter in someone's life, etc., etc. So this energy is all about creation, because if we think about it, well, that is why the cosmic dance happens. That is the motivation behind it. That is the divine pattern playing out, because it needs to create. That is the very essence of the attraction. Venus can be seen as the fertility, and Mars as the catalyst which makes it grow, which gives it fire, which animates it. So regardless from which perspective, this period is also very, very fertile, productive, creative. This is when some things from within us, from inside of us, will just want to be born. For example, even when someone doesn't necessarily have very strong artistic skills, but they just feel this need to create something, and they actually go and do it, and something quite wonderful is born out of that process, out of that inner calling, so to speak. Well, that period is definitely now. But for other people, this is much greater than that. For some people, this is that big, ingenious, Uranus, revolutionary project, that personal desire to achieve something bigger, greater, and the willingness to step out of the comfort zone, to get over the limitations, whatever they may be. For a lot of people, this energy is like an inner awakening to embrace their courage, to embrace their greatness, to tap into their luck, Jupiter, and just go for their dreams. Go and get what they desire. And fate, or let's say just physical reality, will help them in the best of ways, Capricorn. And when I say best of ways, well, of course, this energy has ideals in it as well. But fate, or let's say physical reality itself, is not gonna allow extreme ideals to enter manifestation. It's gonna be selective, of course, intelligently, because it will only allow that which is for a person's greater good or higher purpose, materially, physically speaking, to come into play, and that which is way too idealistic, or let's say self-sacrificial, or just an illusion, to be naturally selected, so dispersed. There is a strong, let's say, almost divine instinctual intelligence in this energy, because that is the specific of Mars and Capricorn, the part of the sky where it can be most focused, where it has a certain singularity. It has the discipline needed to gather all its fire, all its strength, and focus it to achieving something. And of course, there will be some people who cannot take any physical action under this energy because the specifics of their lives or situation are so that they just cannot overcome blockages or a waiting period right now. Well, it doesn't matter that much because, as I said, whenever Mars is blocked physically, Mars can be pretty powerful psychologically. Just desire and feel the motivation and determination to get what you want, and that is already enough under this energy to make you very magnetic, at least from a psychological perspective, because everyone has internet, everyone has friends, neighbors, a local community, or everyone is connected to society their own specific and unique ways. So help or any kind of manifestation of attraction can come from there at any moment. Under this sky, we can experience that sometimes reality is actually like a clay which we can mold, not very easily. We need to be really refined, masterful, and patient artists because we want our creation to be beautiful at least, if not perfect. So that is why not everyone can just mold reality and shape it the way they want. Of course, everyone can ask for it, but first of all, they will be delivered a test to teach them responsibility, and after that, of course, they become sculptors of their own reality. And this is exactly what this week teaches us: how to be sculptors, creators of our own reality, where we have a lot of spiritual and psychological tools. Jupiter in the sign of Pisces, sextiling Uranus, an energy of great fortune, but the kind of fortune which we activate by simply knowing, believing so strongly in something that it turns into knowledge for us personally, that whatever we need, whatever we want, can just pop up in our lives because it reacts to our frequency. It reacts to the magnetism that we generate. So basically, if there is no possible way to take any inspired or relevant action right now in your life, sometimes holding the frequency of desire and embracing it, accepting the possibility that you are creating it, but the way, shape, and form how it pops up in your life is not really under your control. And going back to the Uranus and Jupiter sextile, this energy is going to be exact on the 18th of February. Well, this is a really, really fortunate energy as well, because the way I look at this energy, Jupiter is what we believe. It is our inner truth. It is our faith. And our faith can be as unbounded, as limitless as it wants to be in the sign of Pisces, Jupiter being very strong here. It's nocturnal expression after all, the mystery, the miracle of it, and the magic of the dream as well. Where Uranus is, especially in Taurus, physical reality, it's quantum physics. So that is the revolutionary force. And basically, Uranus is our higher mind. It is basically the unlimited potential of our mental sphere. Even though we might not be able to use it even to optimal capacity, still the infinite possibility is there. And if our faith equals knowledge, when we believe something so strongly that it is no longer under the bombardment of the mind which doubts, it just enters in a certain part of the mental sphere which is the area of knowledge. that is when faith becomes very, very powerful. And Jupiter and Uranus working together, exactly the unlimited power of quantum physics. Well, it happens. It manifests. Maybe symbolically, maybe in a way which might not necessarily impact our lives. We just see it happen before our eyes in a certain symbolic or non-impactful shape and form, yet still we program that into reality. So what does that speak about us and our potential? Like manifesting a song to pop up from a shuffle or a randomized playlist might not seem as a big deal, but if we think about it from a Uranian perspective, well, it is a big deal, because what gives things in life, events in life, their importance? Well, it's us really. Maybe for a universe it doesn't matter if it's a song, or maybe if it's a number in our bank account. Maybe for the universe it can be the same thing. It's us who are the judges. It's us who are Plutos in our own life. It's us who give gravity and importance and a certain kind of darker value to certain things. Music is light-hearted. Music, it's Neptune art, so we love it unconditionally. How easy it is to make our favorite song pop up on the radio, playlist, computer, whatever. How difficult it is to change a number or add a number to our bank account. Perhaps if we learn a masterful way how to shift the frequency of emotion, of value that we attribute to an event or an area of life, that might do miracles for us and our experience of reality. Because if this sky wants to teach us something, well, it's that we are the judges really. So changing our focus, changing our perspective, our point of view, embracing the greater expression of Jupiter, that our subjective inner truth, our subjective perspective and view of life is what truly determines how happy, how satisfied, how well we are doing. And Uranus can be seen as the objective truth, but the objective truth already goes into the domain of quantum physics, where reality is not really as linear as it might seem at first glance. For example, from the perspective of classical physics. So basically, when our frequency changes, that starts or creates, or better said, starts a chain of anomalies around us, anomalies which may be totally invisible or effectless immediately in mainstream physical reality, so to speak. But the quantum changes that were already started off, the first chain went off, so to speak. So that already deconstructs and rearranges the whole of reality, where it kind of rearranges the patterns, but from within itself. And it's just a matter of time when the standard physical reality, so to speak, the non-quantum physical reality, will start mirroring the frequency. We may not have a lot of control over how it will look like, how it will come into play, into happening, into existence, but at least we can know that when we start off a chain and we truly invest our faith and our focus into it, something will happen, and perhaps that is the great experimentation that life is. Now, this energy is really positive, really action-oriented, dynamic, even in a fated sense, But of course, it's not easy. It's not even supposed to be easy. It's challenging, it's difficult, it's time consuming, it's really, really hard. A lot of frustration and irritation, etc. And this will also reflect on the world stage when action needs to be taken urgently in many parts of the world, in with many different problems, urgencies, unexpected situations. And the Leo full moon, there are going to be protests and revolutions and rebellions and people really, really fighting for their sovereignty, for their rights, for their happiness, for their well-being. Leo, basically the expression of themselves. So things are not going to be very easy and dynamic in the positive sense out there in the world stage, especially that this really strong Mars is also conflictual, and we see this playing out, with the Russia and NATO conflict that is escalating. Venus and Mars dance. This is where the USA and NATO and Russia are these cosmic lovers, or better said, enemies, or let's say just adversaries. And from a tactical, diplomatic, and political perspective, they are truly playing with one another. And there is the Pluto return of the US in the second house of the economy that also impacts the whole world right now and will do all of 2022, 2023. The energy crisis is also skyrocketing, and I do believe that it will reach a new peak at around April when Jupiter meets Neptune in the sky. Neptune can represent fossil fuel, it can represent a kind of energy which comes from the deeps. So it's definitely not going to be a pretty sight. But as I said, personally, individually, it can be very, very romantic. It can be very success, action, triumph, accomplishment oriented. And starting from this week, this is where, for a period until the very end of March, what we work for, what we desire, what we sacrifice for, what we love, what we do, absolutely anything in our power to have, might actually enter our lives. It might happen. This is a very strong period of empowerment because all planets, all major power players, better said, are direct. And at the same time, Mars is very strong. It trines Uranus, so there is an energy of quickness, haste, and sudden. And Pluto will also hold very important aspects, both with Mars and Venus. That will also be a really powerful moment when fate really comes down. So the best attitude to take at this time is to stay out of fear and simply mind your own business. Work for what you want, what you need, what you desire. Basically just live your life and not really allow whatever happens on the outside to distract you way too much. And of course, neither your inner restlessness and fears. Just keep as balanced as you possibly can and focus on your will, focus on your desire, and basically just work for it. So this concludes this week's horoscope. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all the love and support and the beautiful comments. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a small part of your journeys. If you'd like to support my channel and my work, you can donate on the PayPal link in the description below. And of course, like always, this horoscope is also dedicated to the memory of my mom, my biggest fan. Thank you so much, and until next time, bye for now.